Everyone has opinions when it comes to video games, and while we often focus on critic scores to assess whether a game is good or bad, it's also worth checking to see how well received something is with regular players. With that in mind then, this list will actually be measured by which PS5 games have the highest Metacritic user scores, and will only include a PlayStation console exclusives. So yeah, this isn't my ranking, it's yours. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 best PS5 games according to you. Number 10, Horizon Forbidden West, 7.9. This list starts off with a bang, and one of the most prolific new age PlayStation exclusives. Now, Horizon Zero Dawn took the gaming world by storm in 2017, with its unique sci-fi concept, compelling protagonist in Aloy, and impressive open world. So it should probably come as no surprise that the sequel managed to maintain all of this while adding even more and expanding on the game's prestige. In fact, sequel Forbidden West is pretty much just Zero Dawn, but bigger and more accomplished, introducing more machines, weapons, side missions, and some of the best underwater gameplay you'll find in a video game. The combat is as slick as ever, and it's downright gorgeous despite also releasing on the PS4. It may rank bottom of this list, however, because of just how safe it played it. It very much is an iterative sequel, which isn't bad per se, but considering the leap to next-gen machines, fans may have expected a larger shakeup. Number 9, God of War Ragnarok, 8.0. Next up is the iconic PlayStation mascot with a penchant for slaying gods and delivering stern lessons. The murder spree adventures of Kratos have been a Sony staple for close to 2 decades, and the God of War franchise is a must-have for lovers of the console, so it's fitting that the latest installment ranks as the 9th highest user-rated PlayStation exclusive. Following up from the genre-breaking 2018 reboot of the franchise was no easy task, yet Sony Santa Monica nailed it with the same vigor as Kratos lobbing his Leviathan axe. In fact, many would argue that Ragnarok is the best game in the whole God of War lineup. And by many people, I mean me, because for my money, Ragnarok is even better than God of War 2018, but hey, sorry for the digression, this list is not about me. For some, it's probably easy to just call this game a full 10 out of 10, so seeing it this low down in the ranking might be a surprise. However, like Forbidden West, the similarities to the first installment may have also made Ragnarok a little bit too familiar in terms of gameplay. Number 8, Demon's Souls, 8.1. Video game remakes are about as certain as a coin flip. You never know whether you'll get a Resident Evil 2 or a Silent Hill HD collection. And with that in mind, you could practically feel the worry when it was announced that the beloved From Software cult classic Demon's Souls was being remade by Bluepoint. And while it of course makes some changes, and there'll be plenty of diehards who prefer the sparser PS3 original, this PS5 exclusive is still an excellent rendition of an underplayed gem. It is also downright gorgeous and one of the strongest examples of the power of next-gen consoles. As such, seeing it on this list is a sign that users appreciate what this PS5 launch title did for the machine. This 2020 remake from Bluepoint Games not only managed to capture the thrill of its source material, but pulled all the power it could out of the PS5 at launch. Number 7, Final Fantasy XVI, 8.2. Final Fantasy XVI is perhaps the most contentious game on this list. By pivoting far more heavily into straight-up action, the latest Final Fantasy sequel has been viewed by some diehards as betraying the series' identity by moving away from classic JRPG systems. To others though, that move made for the freshest Final Fantasy in years. That's because while this is a game more about pulling off sick combos than ever before, it thankfully backs the action up with spectacular storytelling, spinning a complex, proper fantasy narrative full of nuanced characters, deep lore, and some mind-blowing set pieces. The game is also drenched in spectacle as well, again really bringing out the power of the PS5. And when you see those boss fights, the score being so high does start to make sense. There are undoubtedly some who miss the turn-based combat of the series, but judging by this user score, there aren't enough detractors to drag the game down. Number 6, Kena Bridge of Spirits, 8.4. As the first non-franchise game to make it onto this list, you've really got to raise a drink to Kena Bridge of Spirits. Standing this tall against some of the most beloved PlayStation staples is a clear sign that this game is worthy of your attention. But this surprise hit came out of nowhere when it dropped on PS5 and PS4 in 2021. Now, one of the biggest criticisms and praises, depending on how you look at it, was that Kena felt like a souped-up PS2 game, with solid combat, a colourful aesthetic, and an emphasis on puzzle platforming. That throwback approach clearly resonated resonated with players though, especially in an era where games like this, of this magnitude anyway, are often ignored by the major publishers. This is definitely not a perfect game, but its delve into simplicity is refreshing in a modern gaming landscape that is often over-polluted with capital C content. And it's easy to see why users cherish this more straightforward and charming adventure. Number 5, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, 8.5. Is Sackboy one of PlayStation's most beloved protagonists? Well, yeah, somewhat. The character certainly has his fans thanks to the appeal of the Little Big Planet series. However, I think even his biggest supporters might be surprised to see the fabric-based fella ranked above the likes of God of War and Demon's Souls. This PS5 and PS4 spin-off switches up the mainline series' formula significantly to deliver a simple but effective linear platforming game. And while it is a surprise to see the game ranking so high, there's no denying that Sackboy: A Big Adventure is a delightful title, one which has resonated with PlayStation fans both young and old. You've got great levels, welcoming co-op, and a whole boatload of charm, so what's not to like? Number 4. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, 8.5. It turns out that PlayStation fans love Final Fantasy. I mean, who would have seen that one coming? 1997's Final Fantasy VII holds a firm place in many gamers' hearts as a groundbreaking childhood classic that demonstrated the power of the original PlayStation. It also still plays pretty well to this day, so long as you don't mind pointy polygonal character designs anyway, which I absolutely do not. If you do want something more modern and shiny to play through though, then this remake is the one for you. Much like Demon's Souls, it captures the thrill and fun of the original game, but completely rebuilds it for next-gen consoles, with a whole new take on the story to boot. Players seem to love that though, as the user score for the enhanced Intergrade edition, which was released on the PS5 a year after the remake came out, came dangerously close to breaking into the top 3 of this list. Intergrade itself bundles in a remastered version of the base remake alongside a stellar DLC expansion, making a great game that little bit better. Fingers crossed that the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is just as good, and sorts out some of those boring, time-wasting sections towards the end. Sorry, that's me again. Number 3, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, 8.5. If you're a long-time PlayStation fan, you've inevitably dabbled with Ratchet and Clank. This lovable duo is no doubt one of the console's best, and as such, their latest installment is very deserving of this list's bronze medal. Rift Apart is a fantastic chapter in the always fun series that delivers nostalgia for older fans and brings newer players in with its PS5 dimension-shifting spectacle and addictive gameplay. Firstly, the weapon variety is off the charts, with bombs, rockets, cannons, and even reality-warping guns, leaving you with a ton of options for firing. And it's stunning as well, a Pixar movie made playable even, with a massive visual spectacle and characters rendered with a level of detail that only next-gen consoles could achieve. Insomniac pulled off something incredible with this game, so it's great to see it getting the recognition that it deserves from fans. Number 2, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, 8.7. Oh, Nathan Drake, you've done it again. When listing the most acclaimed PlayStation franchises, plenty of people would fight for Uncharted to climb to the top. The beloved adventuring series is a major argument for why Sony is so beloved in the modern era to begin with, as pretty much every game has drawn love from critics and audiences alike. Thanks to this acclaim, it should probably come as little surprise to see this PS5 remaster of both Uncharted 4 and the standalone DLC Lost Legacy rocket right to the top of the list. They were already some of the best games you could find on the PS4, and the ability to play them with all the PS5 bells and whistles, including 120 frames per second modes, easily makes them worth revisiting. Number 1, ASTRO'S Playroom 9.0. It is kind of beautifully fitting that ASTRO'S Playroom, which is a pure celebration of the PlayStation console and its history, claims the top spot. It's not even by a small fraction either, as the user score puts it a whole 0.3 points ahead of the previous entry, so well done Astro, well done. Even better, this is kind of more of a tech demo than a real fully fledged game. A cute platformer that comes pre-installed with every PS5. That works in its favor, however, as for many, it was the very first game they played on the console, and the one that showed off both what it and the excellent DualSense controller was capable of. A love letter to PlayStation history and a charming little game in its own right. I'm yet to find anyone who hasn't had a good time with ASTRO'S Playroom, and it topping the list is a testament to that. So that's our list. I want to know what you think about this order and what you would have included as the PS5's best game. Let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, if you could, please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.